You are at the end of your life and you look back. What will stand out and will you be content with what you see? I hope you will be. And looking around here, I feel quite confident that there's still some time for us to create more of these lasting memories. I'm in my mid-20s right now, and for me, navigating this phase of life feels both exciting and terrifying. On one hand, life feels so wide open, full of big dreams and freedom. Yet, on the other hand, I seem to allow myself no room for error in all of this. And I hear it from many others too, be it in a phase of transition in life, or like me, in such a formative and open phase like our 20s. Trying to find our place in the world, we ask ourselves, who am I really? Being confronted with a lot of change, volatility, and options, we ask ourselves, how do I deal with uncertainty and rejection? And under the fear of falling behind or not making the right decisions, we ask ourselves, how can I trust more and very less? Certainly, I've been asking myself these questions a lot. And as a notorious overthinker and overplanner, always trying to map out exactly where I want to go, navigating this phase in life that feels so wide open, it's hard. Now, early this year, I decided to do something that totally went against these instincts of control. There I was in the outskirts of Christchurch, New Zealand, standing on the side of the road with nothing else but my thumb out, my backpack on, waiting for a car to stop. 7 weeks later, with lots of time to explore this beautiful country, I'd hitchhiked almost across the entire South and North Island of New Zealand, covering a distance of 3,000 kilometers in 36 different cars. The equivalent of traveling from Vienna to Lisbon or up or down the entire East Coast in the US. Now, hitchhiking obviously has risks. And I'm also aware that my experience as a white man might be different than it would be for others. The hitchhiking playbook, however, is the same for everyone and also helps us to mitigate these risks. Number one, you stick your thumb out or use a cardboard as a sign to show that you're hitchhiking. Number two, positioning. You want to get into a location where drivers have enough time to decide and a safe area to pull over behind you. Number three, common sense and your biggest smile. You want to look friendly, of course. And you also want to get into cars with friendly people, right? So a bit of small talk before jumping into the car might help to get a feeling for the vibe. After learning these basic hitchhiking rules, I saw myself sitting in the backseat of cars with people I've never met before. Sometimes accompanying them for 10 minutes, others for 5 hours straight. And each of these 36 rides came with its own story. And most of the times, it felt like a win-win. There was the single dad sharing his life story and challenges of raising 3 teenage daughters on his own. There was the construction worker who told me he made a habit of picking up hitchhikers because they have good stories to tell and make the drive shorter. And there was the young woman who told me she's about to sell her car and wants to boost her good karma a bit by offering me a lift. In the midst of all of this hitchhiking, I began to realize something. Sticking my thumb out on the side of the road, it actually wasn't so different from navigating this super confusing thing called adulthood, which apparently I signed up for a few years ago. In a way, hitchhiking helped me to deal with the questions I struggled so much to get a grip on. Questions you might have asked yourself before too. And if not, no worries, because I did just a few minutes ago. Like, who am I really? Big question, right? Now, for me, hitchhiking turned out to be one of the purest forms of self-exploration I've ever experienced. Standing there on the side of the road with nothing but my thumb out, I felt like a blank page. just me as I was in that moment. And in these countless interactions with strangers, I began to see parts of myself I hadn't noticed before. It felt like each ride helped me piece together a bit more of who I actually am, away from all the labels, the expectations, and everything else that can sometimes make us feel so boxed in. Now, the second question: how do I deal with uncertainty and rejection? Let's be honest. Who gets up in the morning thinking to themselves, today I feel like getting one rejection after the other? Nobody, right? Yet that's kind of what you do when you're hitchhiking. Sometimes hundreds of cars pass before a single one pulls over. More than anything I've ever done in my life, hitchhiking made me feel incredibly vulnerable, being fully exposed to the judgment of others, but also my own feelings of doubt, simply relying on the kindness of strangers. But time and time again, I was reminded that this uncertainty can actually lead to the most beautiful experiences. Experiences that later become the stories we tell our friends and family back home, or even our grandchildren decades later. Through hitchhiking, I learned to face rejection repeatedly and come to terms with it until eventually a new door opened. Now, the third question that hitchhiking helped me deal with: how can I trust more and very less? Hitchhiking is all about trusting others, but it's also about them trusting you. At the end of the day, it's both sides relying on someone they have never met before. And the more I experienced this mutual trust, the easier it was to trust, like a muscle that got stronger with every ride. And as the trust grew, my worries started to fade. This growing belief in my instincts and ability to read situations helped me to enjoy the journey rather than getting lost in all the what ifs, something that is so powerful in navigating our volatile and fast paced world today. So, here's my invitation to you. If there's any cell in your body that is curious or even excited right now, give hitchhiking a try. Take a friend to make it a shared experience, even if it's just for one ride and one try. And for those of you who feel like hitchhiking isn't quite right, start smaller. Take yourself out for dinner alone, or do something else that tickles your nerves. Go on a solo trip, even if it's just to a weekend. Join a new community or begin an activity on your own. So, when you're at the end of your life and you look back, what will stand out? Will it be the safe choices, the well-laid plans, or will it be the times you stepped into the unknown? You embraced uncertainty, like when you were standing there on the side of the road with your thumb out, your backpack on, big smile on your face, waiting for a new door to open. Thank you very much.